Are we ready to start? We are. Which way do I look for our live stream? That way. Okay, thank you. Hi everyone, and happy International Women's Day, and this beautiful day in London. But we're going to take you to more sunny places this afternoon. So today we embrace equity, and it is a real pleasure to see good friends who have been, long-standing friends, and to also welcome new friends to Athena 40 and to Global Thinkers Forum. And thanks everyone who is attending online our 5th Athena 40 Global Conversation. Those of you who have been with us before know that Athena 40 is a platform connecting women and men, people of all genders from all around the world, in a conversation that is about inclusion, diversity, gender equality, and connecting women to networks, because it is so important to make sure that women get access to knowledge, education, and opportunities to thrive. Now, before we begin, and before we start introducing our speakers for the day and taking you around the world to another 4 cities, let us watch a video and see what Athena 40 is about.
Welcome to Athena 40. Athena 40 is a family of initiatives.
Recording in progress.
That promote female leadership and invite all leaders to embrace visionary and innovative thinking. By innovative thinking, we mean being open, curious, and solutions-focused. Athena 40 works closely with some of the most dynamic and innovative minds across all industries in order to promote gender diversity, inclusion, and bring more women into decision-making roles. We commit to enabling women to contribute to our economies. We believe that compassion and understanding are necessary values for our societies. We promote partnerships and ideas exchange among women, and of course, we include men in all conversations. We fight cliches and tribalism. We propose collaboration instead of segregation. We ignore labels and stereotypes. We recognize the value of diversity as a fantastic source of talent and knowledge. We stand for freedom of thought and expression. Our language speaks the truth. We stand for values-based decision-making, and we fight polarization. We are broad-minded and inclusive. We believe in meaningful networking and the need to keep lifting each other up. We mentor, inspire, and motivate other women of all ages and backgrounds, helping them discover their own potential. We share and learn from each other's stories. Athena 40 welcomes everyone who wishes to be part of our mission and initiatives, an international community of vision, an ongoing global conversation, a movement for compassionate, innovative, future-proof leadership. Join us.
So this is what Athena 40 is about: entrepreneurial thinking and embracing change and connecting with people around the world. Athena 40 has partnered with the Conduit Club for a 2nd year for this international event, which is promoting gender equality. We couldn't think of a more perfect partner. The Conduit Club here in London shares the mission and the vision to create a better world, and that is absolutely crucial in this world which is so complex and so difficult to understand these days. So thank you to Paul Van Zyl and Rosie and Eddie and the entire Conduit team for supporting us. To give you the context for today, we will connect live with 4 other countries, the Athena 40 partners in Pakistan, Sweden, Lebanon and Jordan. And we're going to have our 2nd panel, which is hosted by the Evening Standard. We have all been working non-stop for the last 7 months, I would say, for this event, over so many hours to bring together these amazing speakers and experts around the world, to bring these panels together. And of course, we are absolutely grateful to these organizers and partners who make it happen locally. I'm going to come to you, Paola, shortly, but not yet. What's the time now? We have 1 minute. So we will start by attempting to connect to Beirut first. Can Beirut hear us? Is Miriam Sphere there? Hopefully the god of Zoom is going to be on our side. The weather hasn't been on our side.
Yes, I'm here.
Miriam, hello there. Good afternoon. So I would like to make a brief introduction to you. The Arab Institute for Women, which is a pioneering organization that supports women in the MENA region. And you are celebrating your 50th anniversary this year. And I would like to commend you for the work that you have been doing over the past 5 decades, because Lebanon, as we know, has been torn by decades of war. And sadly, every year, the economic situation and the social situation is getting worse. So we will hear from you, Miriam. Would you like to introduce your speakers?
By our panel chair before.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi Elizabeth, thank you so much for this opportunity. So I have here with me Dr. Samira Urfali, who's a retired associate professor and former chair of the Department of National Sciences here at LAU. I have with me Dr. Tamara Al-Zain, Secretary General of the National Council for Scientific Research for Lebanon. I have Dr. Nancy Fayyad, who's a research faculty, postdoctoral research fellow at the School of Pharmacy at LAU, and she's the winner of the L'Oreal Award. And I have with me Ms. Jocelyn Kadi, who's the founder and director of Recycle Lebanon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I know that the conversation, as in every year in Beirut, is going to produce some very insightful findings, which, and that's the purpose of Athena 40 and that global conversation, is to take them away and see how we can raise more awareness around what is happening in Lebanon and the other countries. Now, let's connect to Amman. Amman, can you hear us? Our long-standing partner in jazz, and I can see Mary Nazal being there. Good afternoon, Mary.
Hi, Elizabeth. Great to connect with you. So welcome, everybody, and great to be connected to everyone all over the world. I'd just like to invite my panelists to come up, please. So we have on our panel Ms. Maha Bahu. She's the CEO of JOPAC. Faddali. Let's hold our applause until the end. I will be introducing each one of the panelists in more detail. So if you can just hold your applause until the end, because we're just live with other countries. And also we have with us today Ms. Dana Suyakh, the CEO of Mamlaka TV. You're not going to listen to me, that's fine. We're in Jordan, it's all good. We have Ms. Dina Majali, the co-founder of Crystal. And last but not least, we have Ms. Reem Smairat, the founder of Womotive and Phoenix.
Thank you, Mary. And with this opportunity, I would like to highlight that in Jazz and my startup, you are a long-standing partner of Athena 40, and we couldn't be prouder for this collaboration and the friendship that we have over the years. We launched Global Thinkers Forum in Jordan 11 years ago. I can't believe how time has flown. But under the leadership of your CEO in Jazz and my startup, my friend, my very good friend, Dima Bibi, the organization has been thriving against adversities and odds. It's not an easy world out there, we know that. But you have been doing such great work for youth and women in Jordan, and thank you for being by our side. I know that the British ambassador to Jordan has opened the event today, and we would like to thank you, Her Excellency, to thank her for her presence. And now from Amman, let's go to Pakistan, if Pakistan can hear me, to welcome a new partner, the National Incubation Center in Karachi, which similarly to InJazz, they create supportive ecosystems for tech-based businesses and business ideas, and they actively help women entrepreneurs in Pakistan. Our Athena 40 chapter in Pakistan is led by Ambassador Atiya Mahmood, again, one of the founding members of Global Thinkers Forum when we were in Jordan in 2012. we continue for a second year the collaboration and partnership with Ziauddin University, and I do apologize from now for my pronunciation, but I would like to highlight that Ziauddin is one of the top universities in Pakistan, and I'm thrilled to see the fantastic women which are next to Dr. Owais. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, but please introduce yourself. I would like to welcome you to Athena 40.
Thank you very much. My name is, you pronounced it perfectly fine. My name is Dr. Owais Sheikh, and I'm an IP expert, and I've been associated with academia, consultancy, and the professional experience revolves around intellectual property, law, and management. We're going to introduce the panel with me. Shamim Rajani, she is the MD and Chief Operating Officer at Genetic Solutions, and she's also the founder of Code Girls. Thank you for joining us. Syed Sana Shah, she's the head of program at NIC Karachi, and she's leading the NIC Karachi at this point. So thank you, Sana, for hosting this, and welcome. Then we have Diana Sakia. She was also part of the 8th cohort at the NIC Karachi, and she's the CEO and co-founder of Bachelor.pk. Then we have the odd one out, Amber Rahim Shamsi. She's the director at the Center for Excellence in Journalism at the IBA, the Institute of Business Administration. And last but not least, Hira Wajat Malik. She is a director. She's the director at Assumulus and a clean tech activist at heart. Yeah. So.
I love seeing those spirits and how, how wonderful it is that you have such a positive energy in the room. Fantastic women. I wish we can meet you in person sometime soon. And fantastic, of course, gentlemen. And thank you, Dr. Owais, and also Muaz Sayed, the Director of Development for the university, the Ziauddin University, who has been supporting Athena 40 for us. Now, we will leave Karachi and we're going to Sweden. And under the leadership of our board member, Maria Tiblin, we will connect to Malmö University. I hope that Malmö can hear us.
Yes, we hear you very well, Elizabeth.
Hello
Thank you
there,
so
Maria.
Much.
Thank you
so
too.
much. Good to see you all the countries. And we have a sunny day here in Sweden, so we're really happy celebrating International Women's Day. And I would like to introduce our great panel and the women here in Malmö. The Wise Counselor, Rebecca Letterwall, Counselor for Global Engagement and Human Rights Professor of Intellectual History at Malmö University. Charlotta Lövgren, Professor in Health and Society, Field of Sexology and Sexuality Studies at Malmö University. Anniken R. Day, Global Executive Advisor, Culture Expert and Author. Josephine Edvall, Senior Advisor and Communications Experts of Hygiene and Health at the company Essity. Charlotte Jung, CEO of Duxiana and Founder and Director of Endbright. We're very happy to now continue our discussion and see you soon in an hour.
See you soon in less than an hour. Thank you, Maria. I would like to say that Malmö University, who is joining us as a partner for the first time, because we're bringing on board Sweden for the first time, is an academic institution founded on the human, democratic and academic values that have emerged from the ideals of an open society, freedom of speech, and critical thinking. And they have pioneering fields of expertise, as you've heard, and it's fantastic to have them on board Athena 40, also along with the British-Swedish Chamber of Commerce. Lastly, but we're going to return to London, grey, rainy, cold London. Hello, Doug Wills.
Hi. Hello. I'm Doug, and I'm on the board of the Athena 40. But importantly today, I'm going to hand over now to Dawn Alford, and Dawn is the Executive Director of the Society of Editors, and Dawn will be moderating today, so she will introduce the team.
Hello everybody, happy International Women's Day. Thank you for having me here today. It's a privilege. Yes, I don't need to introduce myself, Doug's just done that for me very ably. On our panel today we have Ros Russell, who is the Evening Standards Assistant Editor and editor of the international multi-channel project Let Girls Learn, which has the Gates Foundation as a partner. We also, on the media side, have Caroline Gamble, Assistant Editor of The Independent, whose area is particularly news, which also includes foreign affairs. In terms of policy and politics, which we will also be addressing today, we have Judith Diamond. Have I got the surname correct? Thank you. Who is the lead global advisor for Polio Plus National Advocacy Advisor. She is also chair of the representatives to the United Nations and to the Commonwealth. I hope I have most of that correct. Again, we'll see you in an hour, so it's going to go very quickly. I'm so sorry. Bella Evidenti, I've forgotten somebody, who has been the executive of the United Nations and supports charities across London. So we'll hear much more from them and we will report back at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Doug, and all your panelists. We have 41 speakers around the world. Every year there's so much energy and buzz and anticipation, so we're very proud and very thankful, and I will be back to you in about 50 minutes. Now let's come back to our room here, and allow me to introduce my good friend and board member, Paula Diana, an activist, social entrepreneur. How shall I call you?
I know. I do too many things.
An agent of change. You are an agent of change. Can I ask all cities to go on mute, just to make sure that, yes, we do not have any noise. So over to you, Paula.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
We're in your hands.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. And first of all, happy International Women's Day to all of you. Let's celebrate our power. Let's celebrate women, because we are the pillars of families. We are the pillars of our communities. We are the pillars of our society. Never forget your power. This is the day to reclaim your power. And as I always say, we need a Women's Day every day. That's one in one ear is not enough, totally. But welcome to all of you to the 5th Global Conversation of Athena 40. We thrive with women who are thriving, connecting with each other. We are here to inspire others and to get inspiration. And we're here today particularly to talk about innovation and why it's so important for women to be part of the STEM revolution, of the artificial intelligence revolution, because we have to make a change in the world by giving, our point of view, the way we see the world. So let me introduce you to our incredible guests. First of all, of course, Elizabeth. I'm honored to be her friend and to be a member of Athena 40. Elizabeth, she's a journalist, a writer, and a social entrepreneur. Her early career in print and broadcast journalism in Greece and at CNN and Al Jazeera was prelude to over a decade.
It's actually off the...
What, sorry?
This was Doug. I think I've forgotten to switch to mute.
It's okay. So, a decade of activism and social entrepreneurship. She's the founder of Global Thinkers Forum and Athena 40, a family of diverse initiatives that advance women in leadership. And in 2021, Bloomsbury published her book, From Women to the World, Letters for a New Century. And then we have Sona Patel. Thank you, Sona, for being here with us. Sona is an award-winning executive producer and partner at the critical issues firm, Brunswick. Sonal leads Brunswick film team and is an advocate for powerful storytelling and creativity in business and investor communications. As a former broadcast journalist, she has been writing, producing, presenting, and directing for 20 years. And then we have Liz Perkins, my friend, who I actually interviewed her and published her interview today on my podcast, The Game Changers. Liz has experience of working across the national press, from the Daily Telegraph to the Sunday Times. She's the night news editor of the Daily Express, where alongside her role, she successfully changed the law through the award-nominated End This Injustice campaign that led the government to pledge to overhaul the family court through the Domestic Abuse Bill. It led her to offer advice in a conference webinar to the financial industry in Dubai on domestic abuse. And then we have Dr. Chen Mao Davies. She's the founder and CEO of Anya, a multi-award-winning femtech startup using cutting-edge 3D technology and AI for breastfeeding and early parenthood support. Before Anya, Chen had a dream career working on visual effects of blockbuster movies, including Gravity and Blade Runner 2049, winning Oscar and BAFTA awards in Best Visual Effects. Thank you. You're incredible, all of you. And today we celebrate all of you because you are innovators. Let's start talking about the divide that there is, unfortunately, in STEM subjects, particularly at university. And I would like to ask, first of all, Dr. Chen Mao Davies, because maybe she knows something that she wants to share with us. Why is that there is still this divide, and how could we make a change in order to include more girls and women in studying these subjects?
Thank you. Firstly, it's an honor for me to be here and to be here speaking on International Women's Day. Talking about STEM, I have a few things to share. Firstly, I came from China. I grew up in China, and it's a similar situation. Not many women are in technology, and we have a stereotype view about what an engineer might look like, what a scientist might look like. And when I came to this country, by the way, I always had a dream to work on Hollywood movies. Coming to this country is part of my path and journey into visual effects. But when I was in the university here, learning my master's, and then did my PhD research in computer graphics and animation, you see very little women in the kind of STEM education, in the STEM career, and also when I moved into the kind of industry and work in various technology companies, I'm probably always the only 5% everywhere I went. And when I was in the visual effects industry, back in 2011, when I just kind of started, there were only about 50 R&D specialists like me in the whole Europe, and there were probably only five women, 50 altogether, but 5 women. So it's always a lonely place to be when you are in the tech industry. It's hard to not have a mentor. It's hard to not have a woman who is successful, who has done it, to tell you how to navigate this. So for me, I think a lot of it is about role model. It's about the mentorship. It's about that representation, that face you can relate to. If we can show girls and women that you can be an architect, you can be a scientist, you can be an engineer, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be, because you can see people like us in those positions and eventually try very hard and be successful, that will inspire them to get into the STEM career.
Of
eventually.
course. Yeah, it's fundamental, right? Visibility goes hand in hand with power.
Exactly.
So now you are an expert in visibility, of course, leading, Brunswick. So what can you tell us about how can we give girls and women more visibility in tech in order to inspire other girls and women to join?
Well, I think we have to take a step back, actually, and look at what some of the research tells us. And that is that, that girls think that STEM is often for boys. So lots of research has been carried out. In one particular study, researchers spoke to 12-year-old girls, and they said, oh, I don't think STEM's for me. I think it better suits boys because of boys' personalities and boys' behaviors. In the same study, lots of teachers were interviewed, and more than half of them said, actually, I do think that unconscious bias comes into the equation when we think about boys and girls in STEM education. So there's something to be done there to address negative stereotypes. Why are girls veering away from STEM education?
At what age do you think that happens?
Well, I think some of the critical research shows that it's happening in secondary school or in high school. So girls from 12 to 18 need to know, look, women and girls around the world consistently say we want careers that help people and help the world, right? But what they're not seeing are that there are amazing opportunities in STEM to do just that. So not only do we need more women in STEM further education, we need to show young women, young girls, in that really early age period, what's out there for them. And we need to be able to show them who those role models are. I mean, you said we don't have enough role models. If you can't see it, you can't be it. So, you know, I think the sector has then a responsibility to show young girls what it could be like for them. When you go further up, university-age students, they're leaving, they're considering where they'd like to work in the world, who those prospective employers are, and they're looking a little bit closer than I ever did at where I wanted to work. They're looking to see if that employer's diversity and equality policies align with their own thinking. They are going on a website to see what the gender pay gap report says for that employer. At Brunswick, where I work, we publish our gender pay gap report. We use, software, analytical software in London and in the Americas to help us make sure that we're achieving the gender pay gap and ethnicity pay gap that we want. So, there's lots out there, and young women are looking. They're also looking at jobs that offer mentorship.
Yes. Mentorship is very important, and here I come to Elizabeth. She's the master of mentorship. But Elizabeth, I would like to also understand, what do you think? It's only about policy making, so it's only our policymakers who should change the laws in order to help women and girls be more interested, or the private sector?
I think both, but I will go a bit before then. I will go to the family and the schools. And I will go to the family because I think it's extremely important to inspire and encourage and build confidence in girls from an even younger age than 10 or 12, from the age of 5 or 6 or 7. And that's why I think it's important to have programs that are going to educate parents. And we need, of course, the schools' help. And the schools need to be helped by the government and the public sector and the private sector. And one of the programs, for instance, that INJAZ has been implementing in Jordan for years now is they have been working with the CEOs of some of the biggest companies in Jordan, and they are delivering 3 times a year a dedicated program, or I think it's a weekly program, delivered to schools. They are 12, 13-year-old students and pupils who attended, and then they take a month away and they are with the CEOs and they receive training as to how they can become entrepreneurs. So it is very much about cultivating that passion for something, which in our case today, what we are discussing is STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, and math. The other thing, which yes, I couldn't agree more, role models. And we have a problem there. We do not find enough role models, although they exist. And I will share with you a story. I met about 7 years ago in the Emirates, one of the most amazing young girls, young woman now, Fatima Al-Kabi. Fatima is, I think, the first innovator in her country at the age of 13. So you've heard of Fatima, yes, of Fatima's story. So she was in the desert with her family, and they were taking a picnic, and then their batteries run, the mobile phones run out of juice. And so everyone kind of panicked. And so she had this idea, what if I try to create something, I invent something that is going to be a device that will absorb energy from the sun, solar energy, and then people can have it with them like a small bag, like, you know, a small case, and they will be able to charge their phones, which now for us, perhaps it's something that we say, okay, it exists. But if you go back 8 years ago and you go to the Emirates and Dubai and the desert and an entirely different society to the one that we are now having this discussion in, this is huge. So Fatima, of course, has become a role model for every woman, I would say, you know, but it was her parents that encouraged that. And so going back to family, that is very important. About mentoring, you said that I'm a master in mentoring. Well, I owe that to my mentors. And that is the reason why I am such a big believer in mentoring, and I want to pay it forward because I was blessed in my life with women and men who guided me in my early career as a journalist in how I should be living a life of mission and purpose. I will include my parents because I was blessed with parents who are visionaries. My father is no longer with us, but they did encourage that in me. And then the women who guided me, like Geraldine Sharp-Newton, members of my board, like you, Paula. So it's about inspiring each other, and it's about lifting each other up. And I think when it comes to STEM careers, as Sonal mentioned and as Jen mentioned, we need stories that will fascinate that younger generation and will make them think, oh, I want to be part of that because, hey, I can make change happen. I have the talent, and I can do it.
It's so important. Thank you for sharing also the story of Fatima. It's wonderful. So I think maybe our media could start campaigns. I don't know, Liz, I'm just throwing it there as you are the master of campaigns, actually. Campaigns on inspiring more women to study STEM subjects. What do you think? It could be an option?
Well, I was going to say, I'm not sure it's my microphone is working terribly well, but anyway. It is quite difficult sometimes in trying to get people interested in certain campaigns in the media. I know that when I kicked off my End of This Injustice campaign about domestic abuse, that was a challenge in itself to try and get, you know, everybody on board with it. Thank you so much. Cheers. Thank you. That's better. Yeah, so originally it was a bit of a challenge to try and get, you know, interest around that. So, I mean, something like STEM as well, I guess, you know, you have to try and fight for that to go in the pages of a newspaper because sometimes certain subjects aren't seen to be attractive, right? Although they are current and although they need to be out there. I do agree with Elizabeth in terms of what you said about families. I think that really, if you've got a family who think that you can just do whatever you want, you don't even think about being a woman. You just get on with it and just do whatever. And sometimes you go against your family and sort of go and become a journalist, because my mother wasn't exactly too keen on the idea, but I just did it anyway. So, you know, you do have a situation where you have children who will be so strong-minded enough and believe in what they're doing and what they want to do that they will, you know, go into STEM or go into anything. It doesn't really matter, you know, they will have that sort of idea and it's never going to be drummed out of them. So it just depends on them as personalities, not just families. And, you know, it's a combination of things, but yes, we do need role models. I do believe that. And the other problem you've got as well is too, in terms of women who go to university and study STEM subjects, they often drop out. So you have to look at why are they dropping out? Why can't you be supporting them to continue in that direction? What is the problem there? And that needs to be looked at too. So there's a variety of reasons and a variety of issues that need to be dealt with in order to change that. And it can change. I mean, we can see the way things are changing for women in society right now.
Absolutely.
We had, I don't want to interrupt, I just wanted to say that we had a very interesting slide with statistics. If we could go back, Eddie. Thank you. Because it just is exactly the point that Liz made about enthusiasm and how women start a career in STEM, but then when they get to a mid-career level, they just drop out because they lose their enthusiasm. And why is that? I mean, there are some very interesting figures there. Perhaps, Paula, you would like to talk about this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So first of all, I can read for all of you, according to a study by the Center for Talent Innovation, 80% of women in science, engineering and technology love their job initially. However, 10, 20 years later, at a middle career level, almost 56% leave their organizations. The quit rate is twice as high for women compared to that of men. Only 5% of women make it to leadership positions. So can we protect women's enthusiasm for tech careers? That's the first question. But then I would like to add a reflection, because, you know, as a women's rights campaigner, I know how pervasive and vicious misogyny is at every level of our culture and daily life. And I can see here the same problem that women have in any industry when they become mothers. They tend to drop because there's not affordable childcare in our society. We still are not doing enough. So I would like actually all of you to give us some glimpse of reflection about that and start a conversation. Who wants to start, Elizabeth?
Well, I can start
Please,
off. I mean,
yeah.
I did an exclusive on the Welsh Rugby Union about sexism and misogyny, and I broke that about a year or so ago, and that's very much dominated the news agenda. It was really horrific, actually. There was one woman working there, and she was being branded as Hitler, and she had a man turning around and saying he wanted to rape her in a hotel, and she decided she was going to take action against them and wanted to go to court. And, you know, they did settle, but she has spoken out about this. I mean, it's not just within the back rooms of a sporting environment like that you experience it, but you also experience it in the media as well. You experience it everywhere, and you're just, you know, when you're starting out, I'm sure that you understand this, you don't necessarily realise what's going on. You're thinking, why are the guys getting all these breaks when you're working harder than them? And it is a challenge to deal with, isn't it, in day to day? But, you know, there's no reason why we shouldn't speak out about it, because you should be able to go to work without being abused. You should be able to do your job.
Absolutely. Elizabeth?
Yes, 2 points from me. One is that the private sector needs to make sure that women receive training in their careers, because it's I believe in lifelong education, because knowledge gets very outdated these days, and I think that it is necessary that the private sector and the public sector as well, but I'm just emphasizing on the private sector because they have the money to do it. They help women with building on their expertise and also taking their expertise towards new directions with new knowledge and new skills. That's one thing which is necessary. The other thing is that we talked about mentoring, but it's important and necessary to also take on board sponsoring. So it's not enough to mentor, it's critical, yes, but when it comes to supporting women take their career to the next level, they need a woman who's made it up there, and she needs to take her under her wings and be her advocate. Be someone who will say, oh, we are going to discuss with our senior management your raise, that you're going to now have a more senior role. So be there for her more actively in order to produce results for her career. The other thing which is very important, and that cuts across the practical but also the psychological, I think that women, we do not support each other enough. Very often, actually, I will use a word which may sound extreme, but I think there is some truth there. We maul each other. Instead of encouraging, instead of nurturing each other's creativity and being happy about each other's successes, there's something there which we need to, break down. We need to absolutely support each other. And I say the psychological because one of the discussions on International Women's Day, but throughout the year, is also about the imposter syndrome. Why is this? It's because we don't have enough confidence about our abilities and about our capacity, which is huge. And on the other hand, you have, men truly believing in themselves and promoting that, And so that is something that is reflected on other women, and we need to change that. So these are my 2 points.
Very interesting points, and I think maybe we can, have a conversation with the public after about that. Dr. Chen?
I really want to carry on a bit about the imposter syndrome because I have that. I'm sure lots of women and men have this. So sometimes we think there are tons of people better than me for this. So why should I try for this even? But actually, one of my most most respected mentors told me that don't worry about trying your best but still fail, because trying your best is already a success.
I love it. I love it.
Think about it again. Every time you think you are not good enough, just tell yourself, I am the best version of me. Every time I try, I will be a better version of myself. So give it a go, and we all can do it. Another thing I want to add here is I have been in the tech career for over 20 years now, and I can really see more and more women drop out. Why? My personal experience becoming a mother is that it all become a little bit too much, because when you are in a cutthroat, male-dominated industry where every year new graduates coming and they have full of energy, they have all the time in the world to perform, to learn, to progress. And when you become a woman who are pregnant and had a new baby, you're going through a very vulnerable stage of your life. Your life priority has changed. You have given so much to your organization already, but now it's time for you to nest, to have a family, to actually be a mom and a career woman at the same time. And I don't think society is doing enough to support women in the workplace. And a lot of times women feel like they are pushed out of their workplace. They can't give their best anymore. And that's our problem. We want to be perfect. We want to be 100% for doing everything. We want to be a great mom. We want to be a great career woman. We want to give our best. And if we can't do it, it is actually quite soul destroying, personally for me. When I returned back to work the first year, I was burning out so many times. I was disappointed about myself. I was crying in the bathroom. I want to quit. I don't know if other people can relate to me, but I had that really strong feeling of maybe it's not for me anymore, maybe I should quit. But one other thing I have learned from my entrepreneurship journey was, at that time I was juggling my film industry day job. I set up this business to support Anya, to support parents and, pregnant women. And I was also looking after 2 children, so I was sometimes working 100 hours per week to balance it all. I actually feel like women can be a superwoman. We can be someone we couldn't imagine how strong. We sometimes can be so strong without conviction, without passion, without dream behind us. We can achieve anything. We sometimes just need that bit of support, that kind of empathy from your workplace. People listen to you. You can be open to them, and then they give you a bit of, a little bit of support and understanding. That could actually be enough for you, and then that will be enough to push you forward and to the next stage of you.
Thank you for sharing your personal story and for being so vulnerable in front of all of us. I think she deserved a round of applause. We are all superwomen, but we don't realize that, right? Because we have the Wonder Woman syndrome. We have to be always the best of the best, but that's not human, right? Sona, what do you think?
Well, you're exactly right. We are superwomen, but we shouldn't have to be. And I think for me, the question is, how do we protect women's enthusiasm for tech careers? Well, first of all, it's about pay equity. Pay me the same as everybody else is getting paid. Pay me what I deserve. And that's going to keep me going. Picking up on what Elizabeth said, the sponsorship point, it's a really big one. Mentorship and sponsorship, we see that women will stay in their job when you are mentoring them, when you are sponsoring them. Also, offer flexibility. If Chen had come back to work and I was able to say, hey, what about this hybrid model? What about this remote model? What can we do? Can you job share? Women are more likely to look at benefits like that as really appealing to them. But one thing we haven't covered, I think, is male allyship. Let's educate the men. Let's talk to them about their unconscious biases. Let's talk to them about what we're going through. And, an interesting study was done where people at several tech firms were interviewed, and the women said, 90% of women said, I've experienced microaggressions in the workplace. 80% of the women, all of their peers, 80% of the men said, this is a wonderful place to work, had no clue about what women were experiencing, and said, you know, this is a great place for both men and women to work. And then when they were interrogated a little further, they thought about their comments and they said, oh yeah, more than half of them said, maybe I have patronized other women in the workplace, or maybe I have been unfair or left women out. So there's a lot to do around male allyship, and I think that would go a long way to helping women want to stay in their jobs.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sonal. We definitely need men at the front line with us in order to change this disparity, 100%. But we should also talk about the financial disparity. Unfortunately, we all know that venture capital is a men's game still nowadays. Women are massively underrepresented among both venture-backed entrepreneurs and VC investors, with companies funded solely by women receiving less than 3% of all venture capital investments, and women accounting for less than 15% of check writers. What drives this disparity, and how can we change the system? Elizabeth.
We go back again to what we were talking about before. It's role models. If you go to a school, and it's been done, I mean, you would know that, Liz, as a journalist, go to a school, first grade perhaps, and ask them for a well-known entrepreneur. They're going to name Richard Branson, for instance, Jeff Bezos, or, you know, just name who. Hardly anyone is going to say, from, you know, among the kids, Arianna Huffington, or another woman who's an entrepreneur. Even me, I'm struggling to find someone. I can think of women having fantastic careers, like Sheryl Sandberg, but when it comes to entrepreneurship, we still struggle finding role models who have dominated, you know, global media, and have been promoted because of their success as entrepreneurs, but they are out there. That is one thing. The other thing is that it's a matter of trust, and that is a main problem in the VC arena, which is a ruthless arena, and it's money, and everything that is about money, it's transactional, and as we know, the Silicon Valley is one of the most difficult places to access, difficult places to raise money, difficult places to, even if there are even after you raise money, to actually create something that will be embraced and it will not be taken away from you as an entrepreneur, because you will be diluted out of the company that you have created. So there are so many different things, but building trust, and again, going back to the support that women need to offer women, but bringing men to the conversation, because we have another barrier there when women support women. Male-dominated VCs do not support women entrepreneurs that have been supported in the first round by women, because they're thinking, oh, they are supporting each other. It's not about the business, it's because they want to lift each other up, which is insane. So creating more alliances and educated men and male entrepreneurs, and perhaps building more alliances that will approach and create centers similar to the Silicon Valley in the States, but in other parts of the world, which are nascent. They are happening, and they have been happening for a while now, but create such connections in order to be able to raise the bar for women entrepreneurs, I think.
Absolutely. And Dr. Chang, you funded your startup. Was it difficult to access funds? Can you tell us a little bit more about your personal experience?
Sure, I'm desperate to tell you my experience, but my microphone is not quite working.
Okay.
Did I? Yeah. Oh, sorry. So,
no, it's not working. Try
it's not working. Thank you. So, look at me. I am a Chinese female entrepreneur. I'm a solo entrepreneur as well. I'm the CEO and CTO at the same time. And my business is about women's health. Think about my odds of raising any investment before I even start. It's minus 4 points already. So, like Elizabeth just mentioned, you know, I think investors are looking at, generally they think, two white male, 20-something male founding team is the best success. They look the most investable. And someone like me, already doesn't look like it even before I say anything. So raising money is extremely hard. But how do I run my tech startup? I want to share a few tips because I'm sure there might be some entrepreneurs here or want to be entrepreneurs. I want to share my experience. So firstly, you don't always find money from investors at the very beginning. When you are in the idea stage, when you are kind of developing an MVP, there are many ways to fund your business. You can bootstrap. You can hold on to your day job like me. I hold on to my day job. I set up my business when I was on maternity leave with Anya. And then when I returned to work, I still worked for a couple of years. The first year was full-time, second year was part-time. And I was, doing the work on the train to London from the Cotswolds. That's 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours on the way back. I was sitting on the bank, like a park bench working during the lunchtime. I was doing evenings, I was doing the weekends. So you can fund yourself and still fulfill your dream when it grow and grow and grow from a sidekick to something real. You can also find a lot of grants funding from this country, from Innovate UK, from a lot of other kind of funding competitions and social entrepreneur prizes and so on. So personally, for me, I think the business R&D-wise, the first couple of years was really supported by 3 Innovate UK funding competitions, including Innovate UK's Women Innovation Awards. I was one of the winners in 2021. And SBI funding, the NHS Improvement funding, the Health Foundation funding, all this funding, not just fuel the business, but add credibility. And it really adds that kind of confidence in you and also the credibility for the business. And all these things position you eventually to be ready to take that investment. And I still haven't got VC investment, but I have got angel investment. So it is very difficult to get that first investment, but it is very critical to get someone who really believes in you. Because this is a self-selection process. Yeah. Sorry, Paula.
No, I'm just curious. Did you find the female angel investors or male angel investors?
Let me tell you. Actually, I'm not sure if anyone here know Liam Black. He is a chairman of the Conduit. Yes. So he was my mentor since 2019. I was extremely lucky to have met him in a social entrepreneur event called Stephen Loyce Awards. So I was pitching there all night, and I didn't get the money. It was £20,000. I was desperate to get that money to progress my R&D. But Liam was the chairman there, so he saw me pitching, and I told him my dream to support women like me during the most vulnerable stage of their life of breastfeeding and everything else. And he basically offered to help me to connect me with his network, and he mentored me. He picked me up when I'm in pieces. But he was the one who introduced me to my first couple of angel investors. And then every single pitch, I will tell the investor, doesn't matter if they want to invest in me or not, can you introduce me to 2 other investors? And then propagate. And I honestly feel that angel investment path is a very self-selection process. So if someone doesn't like what you do, doesn't like how you look, they would not be a good investor later on to support your journey anyway. But if you get someone who really believes in you, who are really behind you, who really back you, they will be your clan, and you need them. And I have 25 angel investors. And,
fantastic.
Fantastic. And really, 33% of them are women. And they understand. They understand, and they encourage me. They help me with many things, strategies, marketing, and so on. So I would say, don't be disheartened when you can't raise that VC money. When tons of people said no. If there's a will, there is a way.
Fantastic. So never lose hope, because you will find your angel investors and men allies.
Yeah.
And so now, do you want to give us a moonshot? I mean, an idea that you think could really break this disparity and this biases? What do you think?
I think that's a very complex question that has a very complex answer. I mean, first of all, what a great story of perseverance and success. It's amazing. What strikes me about these facts, less than 3% of women-owned businesses last year in the UK received funding. That's crazy. And, across Europe, less than 15% are leading women partners at VC firms. So my issue is, if these VC firms have a gender diversity problem within their firms, how can they ever connect with women entrepreneurs, right? So I think, there's misconceptions around what they think women can do. And I think possibly as women, we have misconceptions about what we think we can and can't do. And, there's a lot for us to work out there. But in this gap, there's specialist funding available. I mean, I guess this is living proof with Chen right here that you can go out there and there are women-founded funders who are willing to take a bet on you. And then guess what? Women-owned businesses are more likely to hire other women and to find success. Someone here was just saying to me that, entrepreneurs or boards of SMEs that are gender diverse are 19% more likely to increase their revenues over those that don't. So, I mean, it's a behavioral change, but it has to be on both sides, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
May I add something here, Paula, and build on a point that Chen made, which is a practical point. It's access to networks.
Yeah.
That is key. When we launched Athena 40 in 2018, was precisely because the board and members of the forum were saying we need to give access to networks to open up opportunities and doors for women. And that is critical because what Liam did, and bless him for doing that, he opened up doors for you, Chen. And then what you very cleverly did, because you had a mentor that guided you, you were saying, okay, even if you do not invest in me, would you open another door for me, for someone else? Perhaps he's interested, she is interested, and that is very important. So also being open to partnerships and being creative. So do not be put off. Delete the word failure from your dictionary. I think this is very important. Anything that is a failure, it can be seen as an investment, a learning curve, and then you build on that and you create something which is going to be successful. Do you agree, Sonal?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it's about building the network, right? These are boys' clubs. It's hard to get in because you're not part of the network. You don't have those same personal connections. And so what do? You go away and you build your own. And I think more and more women have to help each other to do that, no matter their industry, actually.
Absolutely. And I would like to go back 1 second to communication and changing the public opinion. And I would like to ask Liz, what do you think, Liz? An amazing newspaper like yours, the Daily Express, would like to start a campaign, maybe 5 years, in highlighting scientists, female scientists and female women in STEM to give us this knowledge, because I'm sure they are there, but we don't know they exist. What do you think?
I think, Paola, you need to speak to my editor. You seem very determined in us having this campaign and just doing that over the next few years. I mean, who knows? I mean, that is potentially possible. And if there is, a way of doing it, then why not? But clearly there needs to be some kind of change in narrative that allows women to be able to say, look, yes, I want to pursue this career, and there aren't these barriers. I can just do it, and I can just embrace it and just be themselves. And yes, you're right, there needs to be a certain change to allow that to happen. But yes, I'll give you his number at the end of this now, right?
Fantastic. So stay tuned. Maybe at the next global conversation we will surprise you. So, do you have any question for our amazing speakers?
Not yet. This is at the end.
Okay,
of the round.
I'm too fast.
Well, it's a good thing. But I was wondering if you would like us to talk a bit about the social or technical part. I mean, what is it? We talked about the digital divide. But what is the social divide, if you would agree with me? And how does technology and innovation help women voice their issues or shine a light on social issues?
Yeah, please. I mean, you can start sharing, yeah, because I know we have some data related to that, right?
We do. And talking about data, one criticism when it comes to data, which are very important because, of course, we can measure and monitor progress and we can benchmark when we collect data. But at the same time, it is very important to map and audit data because there is a danger there to take it as a given that data provide us with an objective picture of what's going on out there, and that is wrong. Because data, it's a matter of who collects them, why they collect them, who benefits from this collection of data, who is overlooked, and who this data, benefit in terms of, 5 minutes more, thank you, Liz, benefits in terms of changing their life. So we need to make sure that we take a critical approach towards data and we bring on board the more nuanced stories, like the discussions we have here in this room, but also what's happening now in Pakistan and Lebanon and Jordan and Sweden. That is one thing. The second thing is that what has happened with technology is that women around the world, have access to more, to facilitating applications, let's say, and they are able to sell their expertise, whatever that expertise may be. I mean, some of them, they are fashion designers, and now they can sell online. Others are translators, and so they can offer those services online. There are so many opportunities out there, but also, and I don't want to take up the time here, to shine a light on phenomena in their societies which are not captured by data. If I have time at the end when we do the live Q&A, I'm going to share a specific example that I have in mind. But over to someone else.
Absolutely. Social disparity, I think everything is connected here, right? We are just connecting the dots. And it's like a catch-22 situation. But we have to start somewhere, right, in order to make a change. And I truly believe that women are here to make a change because this is our century, right? We are the factor for change. So I think each one of you could make an impact in your own industry in order then to have a ripple effect all over in our industries, right? That's why I think singular responsibility is key. So now, what do you think your industry could do in order to change this disparity?
Well, in the creative industries, it's a little bit different in each sector. I work in specifically corporate film, and actually, let's look at our crews. Most of the crews I work with are white, male, able-bodied men. Well, I said male. And we're working very hard to diversify the teams that we work with because the more diverse our teams, the better the work we do, the more ideas, that come to the table. But it's very, very difficult. And it's, I think it puts women off, actually, from joining the industry because they see that and they don't think it's for them. So I feel that I have a responsibility to change that, to start with where I work and who I work with and how we approach different projects. And I think individual responsibility, if you're eager for change and you want to see that change, is kind of a big deal. And yeah, it's hard work and, not everybody wants to shoulder an additional burden to everything else that's going on in their life. But if you have any power at all and you can do that in your space, and that's where you start. And hopefully, if I can do that a little bit, then, other women in my team will feel inspired to do that, and so on and so on.
Absolutely. Chang, what do you think?
Thank you. I have two things just very quickly. So firstly, I think because of my experience in the male-dominated industry, I told myself if one day I can run my own business, I can be the leader of the business, I will make women have a good time in the business. I will make them not have my tears, and I want them to thrive. So there is a girl in my company, I will not talk about her name. So she told me one day, she said, Chan, if I didn't work for you, I don't know where I can work. I'm not employable because she's got 2 children, both have kind of really special needs, but she is such a bright and driven and passionate person. She just needs that flexibility. She needs to be able to work from home. She needs to just find time to do her jobs, fitting around her family. And I gave her that, and she was so grateful for it. And she gave me 10 times more than that flexibility I give to her. I feel like women need that empowerment. They just need to be allowed to be that great. We can be career women and great mom at the same time. We need to be empowered. The second very quick thing, I know we run out of time, is that I think we need to be creative to inspire girls and women into STEM career. Because if you think about maths, learning maths, what can you do with maths? When you have a great maths, you can work in banking, you can work in computer science, artificial intelligence, you can work in films. Let's think about that Paddington Bear movie, and when Paddington come out of the bus, we worked on this particular sequence. So that needs math, physics, everything. How to have that Paddington Bear coming out of the bus, have the hair damped, and then the hairdryer make the hair so fluffy, right? And then how the hair is floating to be the most realistic. That's math, that's physics, that's chemistry. That's all the STEM career in this sequence. That's an inspiration for girls. You don't have to work in the lab or factory when you learned these things. You can work on glamorous movies. Yeah. So I think we just need to be creative when we inspire them. When they were little, when they were like me in a little city in China who had this Hollywood dream, they should be allowed to have fire in their belly, and they should be allowed to dream big.
Absolutely. Dream big is the key. Liz, what do you want to share with us?
Well, I've got to say, I totally agree with that. I mean, it is all about dreams, isn't it? And pursuing them and having that confidence and ability to do that. And for some people, some women, it's really, really difficult. But even so, if you do have that determination, why not?
Absolutely. Be ambitious and reclaim your power. Elizabeth?
I think it's about time that we start the next round visiting the different cities. Before that, I would like to take just a few seconds to thank again the Conduit for hosting this fantastic event. I would like to also thank our new partners like Brunswick. Thank you so much for supporting us, and thank you for live streaming to your partners currently this event. And also thanks to SEDWEM and Mrs. Andrea Vasiliou for the beautiful gifts and goodie bags which you have prepared for us. You're a very successful entrepreneur yourself, and thank you. Now, going back to where I started from, I think it was Beirut. Can we try to see if the god of Zoom will be with us again? Okay, here we are. Miriam, hello again from London.
Build a product from it. So looking at this.
Okay. Yes, hi, I'm sorry. We're still deliberating. So, hi everyone. We had a very interesting discussion related to the importance of women in science, the importance of data, why is it important to follow the advancement, the importance of partnership and strategic collaborations on the level of the digital arena, the importance of one being patient when working in STEM, being ethical, the importance of overcoming all the challenges that are available in Lebanon, the importance of access to girls to be able to learn more about the importance of science, having a career in science, and why it's important. We have a lot of gap in terms of rights in general in Lebanon. We have a gap in terms of gendered research and the importance of gendered research to come out. The importance of having journalists and media coverage that highlights the importance of the digital arena, the importance of women in science, and highlighting important examples and having women on the decision-making table in terms of decisions that are being taken, and the importance of accessibility of data. Data is accessible. How do you unpack it so that it becomes more clear and more understandable to lay people, not just to scientists or people in the tech industry that are working on it. So basically, we will be continuing our conversation, and one important element that came out of it is the collaborative work that we would be doing with having like the importance of mentors and the importance of role models and the importance of one thing that we as an institute might be working on the importance of training journalists on working in the digital, talking about the digital sphere, what's happening in the digital sphere, and about the importance of journalists showcasing science and women in science. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Hi, Miriam. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I have a quick question for you, because you've been going through a very difficult situation in Lebanon, and I was wondering, because of also the pandemic, how is the situation for women? Things over the last, let's say, 3 years, are things worse than they were 3 years ago when we had this conversation and connection to Lebanon? I'm referring to women specifically.
Yes, because like they're the general inhibitors, if I'm going to say, in terms of the laws, personal status quo, the nationality law, we spoke about that. And there are so many other things like the economic crisis. So like 80%, I don't want to give numbers because I want to be accurate, but a lot of people are below the poverty line. We do not know the statistics in terms of women working in the informal sector. There's a lot of dropout in terms of school. We were just talking about how, because of the economic crisis, more and more girls would be relegated to maybe public schools, or even there will be a lot of dropout in terms of schools. So yes, the situation is bad, simply because of the economic crisis, simply because of the fact that there are so many luxury, there's so many taken for granted things that now are considered luxury for us, unfortunately. Not to mention the rise in terms of violence against women, femicide, etc. So yes, the situation is not great.
Well, we are all by your side, and we will keep raising awareness around those issues, because it's important to always step outside our microcosm and connect. Thank you so much, Miriam, and happy 50th anniversary for the Arab Institute of Women in Lebanon. And thank you for this.
Thank you for having us.
This panel. And let's move on to Amman. Can Mary Nazal hear me?
Hi, Elizabeth, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, we can, Mary. Over to you.
Just to say to our comrades in Lebanon, you know, our hearts are with you, in Jordan always. Elizabeth, we had a great discussion. It was very intense this year, and there was more audience involvement, which was amazing, and we're going to have more discussion with the audience now. So we have some bullet points I'd like to share with you. So I'll just go through them. The first point is how we should actively be considering how can we use tech for the greater good. Gender equality within the tech industry has resulted in the exclusion of women. The digital divide occurs when access to tech is limited, resulting in unequal access to information. To attract more women in the labor market, we need to create safe and comfortable workspaces, including work from home options, addressing childcare and transportation obstacles. Encountering misbehavior and discrimination is crucial to women's success in the tech industry and in all industries, actually. Discrimination and bullying against women persists in the workplace. Encouraging more women to occupy senior positions and providing them with access to capital can help overcome these issues. We also spoke about social media and how it often reinforces gender stereotypes. And finally, we spoke about Injaz's financial literacy program and how it's provided women with greater access to financial and tech information in an attempt to equip women to be change makers in society. And we also ended with some suggestions on how Injaz can build on those efforts. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much, Mary. And I was talking to our audience here in London about Injaz's programs and how you engage with schools and with 13, 14-year-old entrepreneur, well, not entrepreneurs, but aspiring entrepreneurs, by giving them this opportunity to learn from the experts, to learn from successful and established business people in Jordan. Thank you so much for that, and we're going to leave you to it. You will continue the conversation in the room with your live Q&A. Thank you, Injaz and my startup. And let's move on now to Karachi. Dr. Owais, how did your conversation go?
Can you hear me? Am I audible?
We can hear you. Perfect.
Thank you once again. So I'll be presenting the rapporteur's report from Karachi. During the 5th Athena 40 Global Conversation, which was hosted in NIC Karachi, Pakistan, A number of issues related to women's empowerment were discussed. One of the major challenges highlighted was the lack of access to basic education for women in Pakistan. Additionally, women are also underrepresented in leadership roles and in government, which is a major concern. With almost 52% of the population being women, there's a need to provide more opportunities and equal representation to them in all fields, including government, education, and leadership. To achieve this, the government must incentivize organizations that have a higher gender diversity ratio and introduce quotas in organizations. The lack of data on the number of women in news journalism was also highlighted, with only about 5% women journalists based on membership of press clubs in Pakistan. This leads to a lack of female representation and a domination of newsrooms by men. Overall, there is a need for greater effort to empower women in Pakistan and ensure equal opportunities and representation in all spheres of society. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a question for you because we discussed here VCs and whether they fund women. Well, they don't. We know that. They fund women to a very small percentage. What is the situation there? You as the national incubator in Karachi and in Pakistan, do local VCs support women's ventures more, hopefully, than they do in the West?
So what I'll do is I should not actually select. So I'll give the mic to whoever would like to go first. We have Sana, we have Hira, Diana.
Yeah, I think in the VC space, it's still a bit limited. We have one, interestingly, we have one VC who is a female-led, founded VC, but all their investees are somehow male, except one. So, except one, yeah. So the ratio is very low, but yeah, more statistic.
Yes, I think Hira very rightly said that only one VC firm led by two females, and I saw a beautiful post by her today morning only that, how she just gave birth to a daughter and the journey so far. I think the overall investment in women-led startups is still very less and low. Yes, they encourage it a lot, but for some odd reason, the number is very, very less. So even, let's say, if I talk about the startups incubated at NIC, yes, there are many startups, women-led startups like Ziana's and many others who have won a lot of grants, but at least not here at NIC, I have seen any women-led startup to, come that far. I think Ziana, I would just give it to Ziana.
Yeah, I think definitely the VC space in general is still quite nascent in Pakistan. It's just over the last 3 years that we've seen a lot of local and foreign funding in the VC space. So it's still very new. And I think as a female founder, raising capital is also, again, because it's dominated by men, it is a little bit of an intimidating space to step into. However, I would like to definitely add that there's a lot of programs that are being run both locally and internationally to get female founders ready for those VC-backed conversations, those VC-led conversations with accelerator programs, conversations with VCs. So there is a lot that's being done, and over the last 2 years, we have seen women raise over $1 million in their pre-seed rounds, compared to those that their male counterparts are raising. But it's definitely a newer industry here. There are fewer female founders also actively raising, and there needs to be more work. But I think within the next 2 years, you will see that shift change. A lot of VC funds have taken this seriously and are realizing the potential, just simply because of the fact that female population in Pakistan is so large, that women-focused businesses are becoming more and more of a priority. So we will definitely see this trend change, and I'm hopeful about that.
Thank you for that, and hats off to you. It's fantastic to know that this progress is happening in Pakistan. So well done.
Thank you.
And moving on now to Sweden. Can Maria Tiblin hear us?
Yes, I hear you. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello, Maria.
So, hello from the first Athena panel discussion in Scandinavia. We hope to be able to share important inputs from women to the corporate and academic world on how to improve gender equality on an organizational, national, and global scale. Here are the main points from our panel discussion at Malmö University. Sweden is a pioneer in implementing sexual education worldwide and is currently revamping it by renaming it Sexuality, Consent and Relationships to promote inclusivity and address structural views on sexuality through norms and behaviors. This is particularly crucial in a world where digital dating is a growing trend. Digital innovation and corporate strategy can mitigate the gender gap in divorce as traditional family structures evolve and divorce rates rise. With the women taking the lead in divorce and facing financial strains, corporations must take responsibility for their employees in non-traditional family arrangements. In the tech industry, only 27% of the workforce are female. The industry has a bad reputation, making women not apply, while men also like to keep it like this. We see both structural and cultural problems. To change this, we need to work together, men and women, by acknowledging the importance of gender. Let's have hope. Even as a lot of numbers of gender equality look daunting, it's getting better. To increase the positive trend in an increasingly digital world, we can increasingly leverage communication and partnership in the corporate world to educate both women and men in gender equality. That was from Sweden.
Thank you very much, Marianne. Thanks, big thanks to all your panelists and the Malmö University. I was myself very impressed when I heard that the university has introduced that field of sexuality studies. So I commend you, and I would like to know more, and we would like to have a panel specifically on that. I'm sure that it will be very important and very insightful. Thank you. And now moving on to the other London panel, hosted by the Evening Standard and Doug Wills and chaired by Don Alford, the chair of the Society of Editors. Can you hear us?
Hopefully you can hear us. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, now you'll be pleased to hear that I didn't say a single word during the discussion. It was definitely, Dawn was chairing and everybody spoke, and it was a wide-ranging discussion. And one of the reasons I didn't say anything was I was busy writing notes to give us something of a resume of what was talked. But it covered every area, and the panel represents every area. But the one overriding point that came through again and again was education, and education for all women, all girls. And millions of girls not being educated in Afghanistan, but it's wider than that. And it's social, financial, and as well as the stereotypes. So that was very much a view and a feeling. Then as regards the media and the equality of usage of cameras, technology, it's felt that they have actually, this has changed dramatically, and technology has been part of that, because in The Independent, for example, there's a very revered young woman journalist who does her own camera work, her own technology from the front line of the war zones. And on a daily level, this is done. But there's still stereotypes of the specialist journalists, and these are in business, particularly in sport. And so there are areas where there is still needs to be done. The STEM and the artificial intelligence, AI, areas where, again, Bella here reinforced with the statistics that were shown elsewhere, there's still much to do in those areas. But in climate change, which is another major subject, that's felt that there is a particular area where girls, particularly young girls, are more likely to take the learning back to the communities. And it's an area where the women have come through and young girls have come through, but more needs to be done to make the most of that and to showcase those who are really outstanding, and there are many who are outstanding and doing work. The importance of continuous training was also brought out by Judith here, and this was something right through career, and along with networking, and for women to help other women once go through the process and have gone through a career structure. and to go through. And that was felt to be something. But again, reinforcing something that's been said from Sweden, that the women to be on more boards, corporate boards, and to be interviewing panels, because they control the finance, and the finance often controls the resource, including education. So it's education for all, and we came up with where we'd like to be in 5 years. And I think the one that was overriding was elimination of fear, and that's a goal to achieve.
Thank you very much, and also where we would like to be in 50 years' time. But I have a question for you, Doug. How does it feel to be the only man around the table?
I'd like to say spoiled, but I don't think I have been.
Thank you for the amazing work that you do, and for supporting Athena 40 and women and gender equality. And thank you, everyone, for this fantastic panel.
Yeah, and so if I can thank everybody here, and Dawn particularly for moderating a very intelligent and very skilled group of different people. Thank you.
Thank you too, and we're now back in our room here at the Conduit Club, and time for live Q&A, which means that we have 10 minutes to hear from all of you and welcome your questions.
Let's break the ice.
Actually, I don't have a question. What I have is just to say that I lived quite the same of many of the women here in terms of job. I used to work long hours, but then when I became a mom, I decided to, my son was 4, my daughter was 2, and new joiners came, long hours around the night, and I couldn't handle it anymore. So I decided to quit. But I thought I would call myself a quitter, but after some time I realized that no, I can do something else, and this is maybe the best thing that happened to me, because I started also a small startup. And Dr. Chen, I saw you also talking to Women's Innovation Award, because I also applied. I wasn't fortunate to get it this time around, but hopefully I will apply again. But just to make sure that we do not sometimes appreciate what we can do, but we can do loads. And this is just a message that being recognized in what we are able to do is what we need, like a push, because we're not as aggressive as sometimes men in the work environment. I don't know how, if women around here and men would agree with me. I don't feel myself, even if I have a small startup, I don't feel as aggressive in decision making, maybe because I'm a mom, maybe because it's our DNA, but this is something that in education should be taught to women. Know what you want to say it out loud, and don't be afraid. So thank you very much for this forum, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm another Elizabeth, and I'm an old Elizabeth. I've had a long and very varied career.
Age is just a number.
Exactly. But what I want to say is, I understand absolutely that your concentration is on education and careers, but please don't forget us oldies. We have a lot to give. Networking is incredibly important because we feel vulnerable. And you know, to be here today with you all is very important to me. I've had 2 businesses in my life. I must just tell you something I've been thinking about today, about patronization, really. Two Oxbridge men have said to me in my life, oh, well, of course, you didn't go to university, so you haven't got a trained mind. You know,
terrible.
So,
and so untrue. It's both terrible.
Well, I've got my IPM, Institute of Personnel Management. I was in personnel for many years. And then I was an antique dealer. And then I went to college and became a stonemason and a sculptor. And I had another business. At the moment, I'm in my 80s. I am building a house.
Fantastic, thank you.
Please don't stop at a certain line. Relationships are still important to us. Meeting other people. being inspired by people and not being sort of put on the shelf. Anyway,
Thank you for that, Elizabeth. Not at all. Just to say that our Athena mentoring programs, and we have mentors and board members among the audience who know about the programs. We just invite women of any age. You can be in your 70s and in your 80s and in your 90s, and you may have an idea or you may want to start something new. And so that's exactly the reason, because we need everyone's wisdom and inspiration and flame, not just as part of the conversation, but as part of the action and change. Thank you for mentioning that.
It's so important. Ageism against women, it's horrible. We have to fight against that. Please.
Rita.
Yes, I totally agree. Yes, I'm no longer a sprint, particularly long past that.
There's a mic.
Thank you very much. Long past that. But what struck me in talking to people today is the same problems that I encountered, 30 years ago, more, was that women found it difficult to bring up children, bring up families, and do well in their jobs. And there is no real answer. So I just wondered if, we can come up with something. Is there a way that women can help other women? There are also stages. When you're young, you're quite greedy and you're quite hungry and you want everything. And I've come across women in the media who've really, been so stressed because, by the age of 40, they want to be top of their careers, have all children, have everything. And actually what I think, and you, Miriam, is there are so many stages in your life. In 20s, you can do so much. When you're 40s, you can do so much. And then when you get older and your children are older, you get liberated. You can do lots of things that you couldn't do before. And who knows, I might start join you in building a house. So thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add something to that, Rita?
Yes.
Earlier, Elizabeth, you said something about, women can really maul at other women. And I think, and I hope, that what has changed quite significantly now is that we have workplaces and communities where we're lifting each other up. And, if I look at my career thus far, by the way, I'm still hungry and I still want it all. And I have 3 kids, 3 girls. But I feel that in my career, perhaps things have happened for me a little bit slower than I would have liked them to, or perhaps a little bit slower than my male counterparts. But, in the last 5 years, it's the women around me who have helped me get to where I am, and I'm deeply grateful to them. And we don't have to maul at each other, and I think fewer and fewer women are, right? And I absolutely attribute much of, the opportunity that I've been given over the last few years to amazing women whom I work alongside. And so I want to be one of them for the other women who are coming up in my team and teams across the firm I work in. And so, so hopefully we're seeing a lot more of that and a lot less mauling, right?
Absolutely. It has to be.
Thank you, Sonal.
Just very quickly, I think in terms of supporting new moms, we need that sisterhood. We need to have that village, Although it's not physical village that we see in the past, mom and sister and friends help to hold your baby, help to comfort you. But I think we can have that virtual village. And in Anya, in the Up House building, there was that sisterhood, at 3 o'clock. If you are desperate in pain and you are most vulnerable, you can talk to other women and know you are not alone. I think a lot of times it's very important to just know you are not the only one. Just to know that other people have been here before and how to cope, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Manal. I'm coming from a different part of the world. I'm coming from Egypt. So actually, I have to say that I need to give some explanation, and I totally agree that the culture is very important, and that the women in societies like ours have much more responsibility than men, but yet they don't have, by law sometimes, or by culture, or by religion, the same rights. And when it comes to finances, and especially if we're talking now about the technology, technology requires some peace of mind. I mean, if you are a developer, you need to be really focusing, and you don't just stop because you have your child that is crying. But I think what we have found last 2 years with the COVID, that when women started to be at home, taking care of the kids and managing their business, we have seen a lot of improvement of women in the entrepreneurship because they are taking care of their house, the kids are safe in a way, and the women are able to work properly and to be more in the creativity and the innovation. The financial issue is still problematic because in some of the society, maybe you're not aware of that, women sometimes they need the man endorsement in order to get some finances. I mean, especially if you're not working or if you don't have your own money. But I think that showing, it's a matter of us, showing that we are able, that we don't complain, that we don't have to go to our boss to ask him that, listen, I need to leave early because I have to have a kid. If we are managing to show them, and with COVID, it helped a lot. I mean, they have seen that women are able to, and now the society are imposing some quotas in the board of directors across the board in Egypt. Now there is a quota. You have to have 30% women in the board of directors, and so I think it is by law and by customs tradition that even in the parliament now in Egypt, I'm talking that, there is a quota. Even if they are not qualified to be MPs, they have to have MPs, women. So I think we have to impose ourselves. I mean, and we have to show that we are capable and not to withdraw. And it is the finance that need to be addressed, and it's very, very important for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Manal, for these very important points. And before going to Kira, I would like to welcome Nur Deniz Tunçer and Kara, who have just entered the room, and they flew from Turkey to be with us today. Nur Deniz, who's a good friend, she's also she's an exceptional woman. She is the president of the Guide Dogs Association in Turkey, and she is the person who actually introduced this association to Turkey. And so welcome, Nur Deniz. Thank you for coming. No, you flew all the way from Turkey just to be here. So thank you for being in the room. We do not have much time, unfortunately, but I wanted to give you a warm welcome also for your support towards Athena 40 and women in Turkey and worldwide. Thank you. Kira?
Yes, thank you for today. And very interesting points when you were talking about a community and your stage in your life and with the nursing situation. And also coming back to the other lady who mentioned different stages of life. I've been quite shocked recently. I'm 51 years old as of yesterday, and recently divorced. And I was shocked to hear the discrimination against divorced women. And that comes back to pay disparity. Time and time again, I hear people going, "Oh, she'll take this because she's divorced." I think this whole language needs to change, and I've heard it from women as well. Very disparaging remarks. "Oh, you don't want to bother with these group of women; they're just a bunch of divorcees." I've never heard this said about men, and I love men. And what I loved about what Elizabeth set up in Athena 40 is that men needs to be part of the conversation in order to create change. And I think one thing we really need to do, and talking about women supporting women as well, we need to stop this language at this stage in my life to say that women are just a bunch of divorcees. You have educated women, you have women that give back to society. Women that are here, I'm sure, are in that situation as well. And when it comes to pay, why should I be grateful for a little salary because I'm divorced? I've got a solid 25-year career behind me. I don't want to be spoken of, "Oh, she's divorced." That has nothing to do with it. And at what stage do we hear men being spoken about this on this level? And I think that's probably another thing was we're celebrating women today. I think everyone should be celebrated. I think being a human being and getting up in the morning and making it through the day is already an achievement sometimes. But I just think that's something else maybe to consider at a different stage in life, is that term of divorce, because you can divorce at 20, you can divorce at 80, it doesn't matter. Thank you.
Very Great point, Kira. Thank you for sharing this. One final question, I think, because we're running out of time. Two. Okay, there's two questions, yes.
Okay, I don't have a question, just a comment. I recently left from 9 to 5 after 30 years in banking and started a consulting practice. But what it is, I'm showing you, sometimes it's how we communicate. And I have a confession to make. So I had this brilliant idea of starting a fintech to address the gender finance gap. And I started the Oxford Fintech program. And I put on this group, of course, all the other people in my group are guys. And one of them comes with an idea for some accounting app. I'm like, well, that already exists. And I come up with, why don't we do an AI-based platform for women? I could tell that they didn't quite agree with it, but I guess I had to be a bit bullish. And then we continued on the progress, on the process. And then when I started sharing the numbers, and we're at the point where we're showing this actually makes business sense, then the light bulb moment. And I found one of the members of the group put a comment about how this is so important and how it makes a lot of economic sense. So I'm beginning to think maybe it's what we put forward to the men to get their buy-in. Because quite frankly, at some point I was like, maybe they should go with the accounting app. But just to show that we are all vulnerable, I could have let it go, but I said no. But then I realized sometimes it's how we put the message across. Something that they look like, they're just thinking about the numbers, not about the number of women who are left behind. I just want to share that.
Well done.
One final point.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you everyone for your contributions today. It was really rewarding and wonderful hearing about your own personal journeys. And something on my personal journey that I would love a sense check in the room. I am sick and tired of being sold courses and other things to get involved in that's going to teach me how to be a better woman, more confident, speak up, do this, how to sit on boards. I've recently come to the conclusion around that we need to fix the systems, not the women. And I would love to hear from maybe some personal experiences up here in situations where you feel like you've beat the system, or you've had a tool or a sponsor or someone that helped you overcome these systems that were not built for you to succeed, yet you overcame them anyway. If you could share a story.
Well,
I like this question.
It's a fantastic question, and I like that you are a contrarian. You have to be prepared to go against the system. It's not easy. And the systems are on many levels. It's your family system, it's society, it's your thinking, our thinking. When I say your, it's how we perceive ourselves and the system. So it is very important to be a little bit of a risk taker and wanting to break down the system that you feel is not good, not only for you, but for women in general and for society in general. As far as I am concerned, I did that when I decided that it was the right time for me to transition my journalistic skills to another level. So I launched Global Thinkers Forum 12 years ago, taking my own leap of faith, not knowing, not having any idea whether I would succeed or not, but it was a passion, and that passion was I need to create conversations, which unfortunately mainstream media do not create. I need to have people around the table and in the room who are diverse and who are social impact leaders and change makers, and they are fearless. And so it was a risk that I was prepared to take. The systems around me, most of the systems, were like, don't do it, Elizabeth. You're giving up a career. You're, a well-paid journalist. What if, you fail? But what if I fly? and so it's important to be ready to take that risk, I think. That's my own experience.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's very important, absolutely. We have to take risk, embrace the change, and be fearless.
I guess we just want to thank everyone in the room, everyone who is online and has been following us and being part of this discussion remotely. I would like to thank all of you for being in the room. And again, all the supporters and partners around the world. Paola, thank you so much for a fantastic moderation.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, all of you. Amazing Wonder Woman. Yeah, I would, a round of applause for all of us.
Can I invite everyone, before we part, to take a photo together? Adam, can we do that? Shall we move everyone? Yeah, of course. Yes.